Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast. And we've got Playa Props here coming to you guys for the Friday night play-in game finales here. Also have best bets up as we are going to be doing each and every day moving forward during these playoffs. So continue to follow along and subscribe to that page. Also want you to head to thelines.com and use that prop finder tool all playoffs long to make sure that you're getting the best odds and juice coming back your way from these books, these playoffs. Nate, let's go ahead and jump right into your first NBA Playa Prop for Friday night.
Yeah, I mean, it's a risky one, as I also talked about with Jonas Valanciunas. I guess maybe this one's a little safer because the Pelicans need Brandon Ingram. And over 19.5 points at close to even money, I mean, I think the juice is rising on this because people are betting it like, I mean, who else is going to score here? Like CJ McCollum is going to get the Keon Ellis treatment, most likely. And then it's a lot of like 3-and-D guys for the Pels. Otherwise, like Trey Murphy should have a pretty good game here, but Kings have been disciplined lately, closing out on guys. Obviously just held Clay over. They have not had answers for BI, though. I mean, his last 6 against Sac, 24 points per game. This year, he shot 53, 56, 90 against this team. And that makes sense when you think about the personnel, because, again, you can't put Keon Ellis or Davion Mitchell on him. You put Barnes or Keegan Murray on him, and while Keegan Murray's had a few moments offensively, like he's still rocking a 115 defensive rating on the road this season, still 112 since the All-Star break. And Barnes has been worse, 119.5 defensive rating on the road this year. BI, I mean, the Pels have been worse in terms of home road splits, but BI is the one guy who definitely seems way more comfortable at home, averaging 23 versus 17 on the road. His offensive rating is 125 versus 106. That's since the start of February, so sample size of 20 games here. If he was fully healthy, you'd completely bank on this. But, I mean, clearly he's not full back to the height of his powers, although it seemed like if you read the body language and his facial expressions, he felt like he was ready to get in there in the fourth and take, work alongside Zion and do something. And Willie Green was just like, no, you're gonna sit down here because you weren't effective in the third. And he seemed mad about it. And so I think when he does get out there and whatever internal discussions they have about like, all right, you got to bring us home here, you got to get us to the playoffs, like he'll be ready to be aggressive. And that's what he's done in the playoffs at every opportunity here. I mean, he averaged 27 in the series against Phoenix. He dropped 30 against OKC in the play-in to get there. He dropped 30 the previous year in the play-in against the Clippers in an elimination game, and 27 against the Spurs to get there. So he's been cruising past 20 in this kind of do-or-die situation. And obviously all those games are without Zion. And now without Zion, you expect about 30% usage for Mr. Ingram.
Yeah. I mean, it's not rocket science. If it's either you believe that he's healthy enough to be effective or you don't. And if you do, then 19.5 is a steal. That's kind of where we're at. It's a total zero-sum game here. You're either going to get it one way or the other. And if you do believe in that, like I said, then yeah, you're good to go with those numbers at 19.5. I even think like the assists are still good as well. Like he's going to be doing plenty of facilitating. I imagine, there's not a great matchup for him. There's probably, like you said, better matchups to shut down CJ, who still kind of did his thing. I still think maybe like threes are even available. I don't think CJ is going to get shut down entirely. But I do think that 19.5 is a much, much prettier number to have to go over than the 23.5 or so that you're seeing for CJ, because he is clearly still full health, and BI is going to have a little bit of issue. But I think, I thought he could have played in that game as well. And maybe that was because I was just really rooting for the 4.5 assists and he didn't even get the chance to get those. But I still thought he was okay enough to go. So I'm going to go over for Kobe White's threes. And I really thought about taking the points, even though they're at 20.5. But I do, like I kind of said in the best bets video, my script for this game in the Bulls Heat matchup is that like DeMar is going to have to work incredibly hard to get his, and spot up shooters are going to be open for this Bulls team. And Kobe White is actually the number one spot up shooter in the NBA in terms of points per game. He has the most points per game off of that shot and play type, and even more than Klay Thompson, the aforementioned as well. So I think that's a huge reason for this, for me taking him. I feel much more comfortable with the threes than the points, even though I expect him to play 38, 40 minutes, as long as it's a close game. Like all these dudes are going to be playing that amount of minutes. And he's gone over this in 7 straight versus this Miami team. In fact, he's gotten 4 the majority of the time time that he's played against them over the course of these last 8 games, where he's gone over in 7 of 8. He's in this season, he's played them 3 times without Zach LaVine, and in all 4 games, he's taken an average of 10 threes per game, going up a little bit to 11 without LaVine in there. So the hitting 3 out of 10 for Coby White. He was on a little bit of a slump there from deep, even though he started driving to the rim a bit more. And so but I think in this one, the threes are going to be what is the majority of his field goal attempts. And that's what I love about it. I think he's good for, like I said, 38 to 40 minutes. The spot up shooter stuff is not only good. I didn't explain why it was good, but it's good because that's what Miami does. That collapsing defense, they give up the second most points per game to spot up shooters and on the catch and shoot and all that kind of stuff. So if you're a ball handler in this game, you're going to be a lot more trouble, in my opinion, for the Bulls than if you're one of those spot up shooters. And Coby White also, if one of Dosunmu, and I think Caruso's a go. I don't know fully about Dosunmu. He's a lot more 50-50 to me, whereas I think Caruso is on the up and up for playing rather than sitting with his Q tag. And with that in mind, like both of those dudes take the most corner threes for this team, including Javonte Green when he actually gets minutes. But Coby White will probably have a little bit more availability to be spot up in the corner and play alongside the wing and the baseline a bit more if at least one of those dudes isn't in the game taking up that spot for him. So the 3 threes still get at -113. I think that's a great number. I thought this would be a little bit higher, but the books are clearly also looking at his recent numbers at the end of the season where he wasn't hitting very many or even taking very many threes, but then he's come back to life in the last like 3 or 4 games in a way that I'm like, yo, he's hot. Like he's just too hot to avoid taking something for him right now.
Yeah, he absolutely scorched in those Hawks. I mean, a team that he was so good against in the regular season that he would just walk right to the rim. But you look at teams like Miami that in Milwaukee and Denver, teams that like pack it in, right? And he'll take like 10 threes against those types of teams. Actually, there was a stretch in December where Caruso missed 3 straight and he shot 15 for 30 against those exact 3 teams in a row. So if he's going to take 10-ish threes again against the Heat, yeah, you like his odds to at least knock down 3 of those. I mean, there's a lot to like on the other side of this with the Heat in terms of player props, and they're probably going to rise by Friday because people are going to be hitting things like Bam over 25.5 points and assists, which I was already doing at 24.5, and then Jimmy's officially ruled out, so here we go. But I mean, the point is like he should have a lot of success against Vucevic, who he has even with Jimmy out there. He's averaging 24, 10, and 5 against Vuce in his last 4 there. We're talking 64% shooting. We're talking 28% usage, 7 free throw attempts per game. He did have a dud scoring the ball in the play-in last year. Only 8 points on 1 for 9 shooting, but still got to the line again. The Bulls are allowing the 8th highest free throw rate post All-Star break. They're allowing the 3rd highest field goal percentage on the 10 to 14 foot range, which I think is where Bam can do a lot of damage here. We talk about that drop D that Vooch has been asked to play, and both Bam and Tyler Hero are going to have success there, and they're going to be playing a lot of 2-man game here, which is great in terms of Bam being the end of game, if you will. Like he's either going to catch it and make one more pass for the potential assist, or he's going to finish off Hero, or he's going to get the screen assist and whatever. Like he's going to be very involved in the offense without Jimmy. He's played 21 without Jimmy this year, averaged 22 and 5 assists, 26% usage. We're also talking no Terry Rozier, who post All-Star break was 3rd for the Heat in terms of passes and potential assists. Bam averaging 6 potential assists just behind him. So I just think he's going to be, you don't replace the Heat don't replace a point guard with a traditional point guard, right? They're just like, okay, Bam's facilitating now, and everybody's going to gravitate around him, and it's going to be a creative offense. But at least we do know that when Hero and Bam are out there together, they're going to be working together.
Yeah, 100%. And Duncan too, who should be available in this one. It does seem like maybe they're rushing Duncan back a little bit to make sure they have enough offense without Jimmy, but doesn't take that much effort to get the dribble handoff and pull it up at 6'9", right, and get your shot up over people. So I love the look on the assists. Not much juice, but like I mean, Bam triple double was plus 3,300 before Jimmy was officially announced out. It's now 2,300, I think, is the best place to get it. But like 23 to 1, For him to get the 10 dimes is what you're banking on there. I don't know, maybe it might be worth a sprinkle. But either way, my main point in saying that is to emphasize how much I also agree that Bam's going to do work. The points are high. They're, 21.5. He's averaging 22 on the season without Jimmy, so they're still pretty high. And he's got to take the at least 17 shots or so. I'm not sure if he's going to get there or not, but he should have a pretty good time down low against Vooch, a lot better of a time than he had against Joel Embiid. That's for damn sure. So let me close it out here with the guy we're both looking at, playoff Caleb Martin. And we'll call him that here because dude was a wagon last year in the postseason for a lot of it until those props crept all the way up to like 18.5 points at times and stuff like that. But we'll go back to him, and I'll take him at 18.5 PRA in this one. I like the points at 11.5. I really, really do. He's not necessarily one of the dudes who gets impacted by Jimmy's absence in terms of his output on offense that much. But here's the thing, like, he guards DeMar DeRozan. He's guarded him every game, and every game that Jimmy hasn't played, and he's even been spent the majority of the time guarding DeMar when Jimmy was in one of those games this season against the Bulls. And I don't know why that would stop. DeMar is looking at least 40 minutes. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he plays 42 if he's working and they really need him to be sort of their point guard as well at this point, which he has been. With that alone, he's going to fall. He's just going to trip and fall into at least a few rebounds. So 4.5 boards as well. It's kind of low. We've seen him have plenty of double-digit rebound games, and everything that Chicago gives up to his sort of his position, his profile, and playmaking, and all that. They give up a lot to everything that he wants to do because they have trouble with athletic. We'll call him a big. I mean, honestly, we've seen Caleb Martin play power forward at times for this team, and that's gonna be a problem for them. There's a ton of dudes that have gotten theirs against him as of late that would fall right into the same profile because they don't really have that one-on-one athletic defender with the height to guard somebody like Caleb Martin at this point. So him being out there for the 40 minutes is a huge part of this. But everything else that I like about Caleb Martin is basically, like I said, it's the shot chart as well. It's just like where he wants to shoot from. Everything is either going to be a corner three. 37% of his field goals are coming from the spot up as well. So most of the shots he's taking from the spot up. Chicago is fifth worst in terms of limiting points to spot up shooters. That's kind of what I was also talking about with the Spider-Man meme, is just like we play pressure defense, and that does leave shooters open. And a lot of the stuff in the corner, they're one of the worst corner 3-point defenses because of the fact that they gamble so much out there on the 3-point line above the break, which leads to, plenty of guys being open in the corner as well once that defense gets sucked all the way up like that. So he's going to be in that position. Like, where they're best is right in the mid. The Chicago defense is best right in the mid range and the extended paint. That's like not the restricted area, and that's not where Caleb Martin's shooting like at all. He barely uses the floater. He either gets all the way to the rim or he's in the corners shooting those threes. So I think he's good. Really like the 11.5 points, but the other stuff's so low and he's going to be out there for so long that I got to at least go with an over on 18.5 PRA for him.
Yeah, we were both about to take this when we were adjusting to Jimmy being out, and I think the rebounds is maybe the most enticing if you're going to take a standalone, right? I mean, 5 rebounds for a guy who could play 40 minutes, like you said, and a guy who routinely flirted with 10 rebound games in the playoffs last year. He's just all over the place for this Heat team. He actually dropped 17 and 8 in 2 against Chicago in December with Jimmy active. So, I mean, he's proven that he can do something with those minutes. And if this is a lower scoring game, or if the Heat continue to just confuse people and use their Jedi mind trick to get people to miss open shots like they did against the Sixers, more rebounding opportunities coming his way for sure.
Yep. Some of them going to be long rebounds too. I do like a lot of 3-point shots in this game. So tailor-made for Caleb Martin. But that is all the time that we have for you in Play Up Props here for Friday night. Continue to follow along though. Subscribe to that page. Coming back with some Saturday action and Sunday this weekend as we get into these playoffs. So until we see you next, happy betting.